Okay. Well, everybody, welcome to Friday. It's great to have all of you with me today and with us today. Today, our featured artist is none other than Ethel. If you haven't seen Ethel, and I'm sure you have, you've heard her. She does all the behind scenes of getting the artwork up from artists, for making sure the website runs well. She's just a master of many talents. And today she'll be showing one of those, which is artist. So we'll get to see Ethel's style. And if you have questions, you can ask her. So Ethel, hello.
Hi, John. It feels surreal to be here. Like, yeah, you started it right. I'm always behind the camera, always behind Zoom, doing all the switching. Yeah, so that's why it feels surreal to be here and being interviewed. Um, in my mind, when I spotted Daniel Smith, I wanted to crack a joke. I'm not a daughter of Daniel Smith, but I'm a part of Daniel Smith family. I just can't change it to Ethel because I'm still doing the controls for our meeting. So yeah, we're safe.
Yeah, it's been hard to get Ethel to be in the role of the artist today because she's still checking to make sure everybody comes in and everything is flawless. So we'll try to make sure that she just shows us artwork today. And there's other people, Jen, etc., that will make sure everything works in the background. So it's all about you today, Ethel. We want to see your artwork. We want to hear your story. It's wonderful to have you today.
Thank you. So a few seconds
You're very
ago,
welcome.
I mentioned that it feels like I'm about to go up the stage and accept my diploma. And why do I feel that way? Because I just feel blessed and grateful to have my Daniel Smith family here, brand ambassadors and artists who support Daniel Smith. And you guys have been cheering on, not just me, but each time there's someone who goes on air live with John, there's a great support. So I'm glad to be here. And as we all know, we always start with a PowerPoint. Can I proceed, John, with the PowerPoint?
Of course, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do it now.
Ethel, can you please show the PowerPoint of the artist?
Okay, let's do this. Okay. I just want to do a special shout out to my Filipino friends and my sister who especially stayed up late. It's 1:33 a.m. here, and of course the rest of the world for joining us today. Okay, here we go. So for those who would like to connect with me, I am in Instagram and Facebook. That's my handle there, my first name, and then there's a dash. That's an underscore, not a dash. And then in Facebook, that's my name and my married name. Okay, so the next couple of slides will be more of like a storytelling. This first image here is my not very first artwork, watercolor work, but it's more like my beginning. You see very loose, it's already loose, and then there's pencil sketches. I just kind of like how playful and dainty it is. And this style as well. Like I earlier mentioned to our support group that ever since I started doing watercolor, I just didn't like doing sketches because my personality, I think it's more like consistent to my personality, which is very extrovert, if I can say it that way. But then there's a transition. When we moved from Singapore to the Philippines, I started to feel the change. There's just so many things happening at the same time that without me knowing, watercolor has actually since become a refuge. So I started doing my journals. I regularly do journal like this way. It's written in, so now you're seeing part of my journal in 2019. It's written in Tagalog. And then there's an artwork there. So on that page, I wrote something about relationship 10 years ago. So that talk about pains in relationship. And then a year after I moved to the Philippines, reality starts to sink in. And I immediately noticed that there's just lots of societal issues around me that call my attention, and they feel as if they are all bottling inside me. And I don't know, for some reason, I just started to paint portraits. And in fact, these portraits do not have pencil sketches. So each time my husband sees me doing that this way, he would always say, no, if I'm going to ask you, if you paint this piece again, will you still be able to do it? Because I don't have pencil sketches. There's no study, whatever. But then my answer is, I don't think, maybe not. But for that very moment, I was satisfied just being able to capture the moment and emotion. I'm not sure if you can read the text on its right. So this lady here, I learned, this was when I learned firsthand account of case of a battered woman. And yeah, like there's just so much about the story that led me to documenting it this way. And then from that kind of issue, we then have issues down north in the Philippines. There's war in one of the remote areas here. And my way of expressing, because I couldn't just fly there, just a little backgrounder, just before I became part of the Daniel Smith family, I work in a development aid agency. So being a development aid worker, it was so easy for me to notice or to react to situations like that. And then again, because I felt like I couldn't do anything at that time, I painted this, I called her Little Miss Orange and a fish. And I actually dedicated this piece for children who are caught in war. Okay. At that time when I painted this, the only question that I have in mind is, oh, what about play? Like, obviously, if you're a child, the only thing that you want to do other than eat and school is you want to play, but you can't play. What happens? And then these two, especially this artwork on the left, I did this because I couldn't sleep. I was in our condo unit, and the condo is surrounded with BPO buildings. And in the middle of the night at 3 a.m., I just heard like someone screamed, and I thought it's just scream. Then I realized eventually that it's at 3 a.m. There was actually a beauty pageant at 3 a.m. So what to do? Because it's a BPO, and BPO like works like daytime US. So I couldn't sleep, and I painted me imagining, it doesn't look like me, but that's actually the purpose of me painting this, because I couldn't sleep. And then I just jumped to the next. The man here, I captioned this on its right. I captioned it this way. I tried, you see, but I have to know you more to gain the trust to start tracing who you are, where you come from, and why you are still here. And here it says, my attempts to finding Iris. I actually like to paint portraits, but because never trained to do so, when I attempt to do portraits, I would always start with the eyes, and thus the hashtag that I put there, finding Irish. The finding Irish is actually meant to be more than just painting the eyes, but it's more like as and when I meet people and learn about their stories, there's part of me that wishes to get to know more of them. And if there's any part of their story that spark hope to me, I wish to paint and communicate and share that experience. So fast forward from that kind of experience, I then started to notice a shift. I realized I've been wanting to paint moments where I just feel relaxed all by myself. And so from here to the next couple of slides, you will also start to see changes of my artwork like this. And this is the artwork that would introduce me to what I'm gonna share today. which is free form and loose florals. Just to quickly, I'm not sure if you're able to follow the season, but nearing just before the pandemic, things started to change for the better. And that's also when I started to see more colors in my artwork, like this one. These flowers are actually, I don't have like pictures reference, but these are more inspired by the flowers that I see along the way, mostly by the roadside. This one is specially dedicated to my sisters, Giselle and Lizelle, and my friends in our hometown. Yellow for me is always a color of joy, and that's why I chose yellow for this piece. And then I started to paint seasons. Most of my florals don't really have like a picture next to me as I paint for reference. It's more like recalling from memory, or if not, a combination of different flowers stored in memory. And here's my attempt. Why I have many roses, because I always find it difficult to paint roses. And I think I got better. As you notice, the middle rose really look like a real rose. But what makes this piece special here is that during the pandemic, it gave me a chance to notice a lot of things around me and focus. Like this kitty here. This kitty I met during the pandemic, the very first cat that become part of our lives. We call her Lola. Lola meaning grandmother, actually. And she will always be in my painting sessions during the pandemic. During the pandemic, I also discovered the beauty of our watercolor ground and started repurposing. Like for this one, this is painted on a cardboard, like the backing of a watercolor paper, the block paper. And I use our transparent watercolor ground. I followed, I think this was my first attempt to use watercolor ground. I followed the 72 hours curing. And this piece now is with a doctor. I gave it to her. I was just happy to meet someone who was so passionate in, her name is Dr. Tin. During the pandemic, she was helping doctors cope with stress. So she gave out free watercolor sessions. And I thought there's the best way to appreciate her is to give this piece. This piece was painted during my birthday 2 years ago. And that also would lead us to these two, if I can say poster images for my style, this would be the two. My style, I call it to an audience of one. And why to an audience of one? It's been almost 5 years or 5 or 4 years since we moved back to Philippines from Singapore. And my husband and I and my family have been through a lot, and I don't have to bore you with the stories, but at some point I asked myself, was it really worth it to return home? At some point I said, maybe not, but end of the day, it's actually worth coming back home. How I got into this idea of painting to an audience of one is really more of like, at end of the day, when life gives you a lot to unpack, I ask myself, what really matters is end of the day, whether there's someone beside you, there's someone looking at you, or you're just all by yourself, do you still do the things that you like to do? And so moving forward, whenever I paint flowers, I would always go this way. So time check. I couldn't see my time. How did I go, Letty, with my time? Have I consumed 15 minutes?
Yeah, you're very good.
15 minutes already? Okay, so let's proceed. It feels so quiet. Nobody's asking questions.
I think we were all just
We
in
are
awe
muted.
of your
We are muted.
stories.
We were all muted. It wasn't me for sure.
Don't worry, we're going to have questions.
Thank you
Oh,
for
they're
making it
coming.
sound, Carolyn.
We
Okay.
were stunned, speechless.
Oh, who's that?
There are comments like serenity, sensitivity, gorgeous, poetic.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Sensitive.
Now I can see my time. Okay, here we go. So for today, we're gonna paint an impression of this bouquet. This is not a bouquet from Dino, not a bouquet from Dino to me. Dino is my husband. But this is a bouquet, a birthday bouquet of my mother-in-law. She celebrated her birthday in April, early April. And she actually asked, why is it still sitting in the kitchen? I said, because I want to paint it. If you recall one of my, one of the slides, I love painting a series of flowers. So when I saw her bouquet, I said, oh, that's going to be a beautiful piece to paint. Like perhaps an abstraction of 3 parts out of this. And I'm not supposed to reveal it in public, but yeah, I'm going to give it to her, of course, the owner of the bouquet, my mom-in-law. So my process would always start with just look at the piece and decide which part catches your attention. And a few days ago, I already decided that it's gonna be this. Hang on, it's gonna be this piece. So there's a whole lot of flowers here, but it's gonna be this this one here. I don't know whether you can appreciate the shape, but it's gonna be that piece there. Okay. Let's do this. I must say that since I am married to an artist, I'm surrounded with the world's best. I have in front of me the world's best materials, and I'm surrounded with artists. So most of my tools, if not all, are hand-me-downs. That's one. Second is they're just the best tools. And my process will be a combination of different approaches that I learned from my husband. Okay, see my eyes. There's someone's.
Rajat, can you please mute?
Okay, now. All right. So for today, for this bouquet, when it was still fresh, the dominant color that I saw was yellow. So I learned from my husband the process that when you say, what's the lightest part of your painting? Is it white? And so, of course, my answer the first time I was asked is white. And he said, no, it should be the lightest, almost like tea, the tea level of your dominant color. And I'm going to do that here. So we're going to start with yellow. For today's tools, I know you're going to ask about this. Please ask questions if you feel the need. But since I kind of know the flow, I'll just jump right ahead. And you're going to ask for tools. So because I am doing, my paper is arches, this is Holcrest or rough? Rough, wow, rough right away. 12 by 16, and I learned that for this size, it's good to use for your wash, so that you're gonna have smooth wash. It's good to use big brush for the first wash. Otherwise, especially for someone like me, who's not really a master artist, if you use a small brush, then you'll start to see the lines when it dries. So I do as I explained. And my favorite part is the mixing before you spread the first wash. My palette, this is Stay Wet Palette by Neve. And of course, my brush, all that you see here, all these brushes with red handles, these are Alvaro Castañe's signature brush. This is size 2 inches. And this is Neve. Neve is from Australia, and they run the senior art stores. This is a beautiful palette. It has that, what's the word? A finish of ceramic but it's light, so you can carry it with you comfortably. And look at that. This is size number 3. It's called Stay Wet because I noticed my husband's paint, even if it's left like for a couple of weeks, it's easy to reactivate. Okay, so I'm just gonna use here. So what I do for my wash first, where's my yellow? Here. Interesting, right? I have like big brush and then a teeny weeny. It's a stick, hence a yellow medium, but that's okay. There we go. So don't ask if, Ethel, are you gonna sketch? I'm not. Okay, time check, it's 1:50 already. So I'm gonna put water here. So this is exactly how I do my process. And I call this in my dialect, it's like sagob. Oh, my brush is dirty. Sagob means you fetch water. I think I'm gonna have mute. Okay, thank you. I'll put my water here and then I can actually do like this, swirl, so it's blocking. Or, of course, you don't use your big brush if it's just for mixing.
Ethel, we have a question on Zoom, and they
Sure.
said, how much does your husband's style affect your own?
1 to 10, 6. Because I'm a lazy student. I don't do a lot of things that he does, even he's experienced, but he still does color study, value sketch. I don't do it. I just colors. Okay, so sample, this is my thickness. I'm happy with the thickness. And this is the part I always like to do. Now I know how difficult it is for you guys to do demo. We're gonna wet our paper just like that. It feels like baking too. And if it's daytime, I don't know whether it's husband style, but one trick that he taught me is the way for you to tell if water is still good and it's able to embrace color is he put the paper against the light, and if it still shimmers, it means it's ready to take your color. So I have light here. I'm just gonna, yeah, see it shimmers, right? So it's ready to take your color. So I can just do like that, or I do it always when I I think it's consistent to my personality, obviously. So it's not enough. This is what I like about this palette. There's so much of space. Okay. Then more. I'm gonna stand, I think. No need at all. And then most of my artworks, especially for the first layer, got less brush intervention. There. I'm happy with that. And then next is a green. I'm gonna use this green, German greenish raw umber. Why this? Because that's how I see the dried leaves. Like my eyes tell me that you can use this, not this spring green. I think if it's fresh, still fresh, I use spring green, but because this is dry. So we move here. And whether you worry that there's another color, it's okay because this is our second color. And just switch to a mop. This is number 6 squirrel brush. This thing here, the blue cloth, is I think also used to wipe cars. Do you see the green? Yeah, you do. More. Oh, I thought it's 1:55 already. Okay, here. And then I love this part. Yeah. Like, that's the very reason why I like doing watercolor. Like I think I posted in Facebook. I don't know whether you in Instagram too. With watercolor, because of the element of water, perhaps, you just flow easy. It will not judge you. It won't say you're too much. It will just absorb your flow. Okay. No brush. And then while it still is wet, okay, this part, if you worry, like this part, what gonna do with that? Because I want to have like one blend, a nice blend. You can actually, if you leave it like that, most likely it will form a rigid line. So my husband would say, you clean with a synthetic flat brush. But I discovered, he's not here. I discovered can actually use another brush for as long as it is clean. So the key with watercolor is it has to, you always have to put in mind that it has to be clean, like that. My
You're
God.
such a rebel.
Is that Mark? It doesn't matter. It's okay. I'm just having fun, Mark. I'm not joining a contest. And I'm back to why I'm gonna paint that, because I just love immortalizing memories. Okay, so it looks like, oh, Ethel, you're not really painting, but this is third layer now. The bouquet has pink, purple, there's orange, and there's yellow. So husband says, while the paper is still wet, okay, backtrack a bit. If the question is, how do you keep your look and feel soft? And I learned that the only way to keep it soft is you put your colors while the paper is still wet. So it's wet on wet. It will not give you like rigid lines. And since the pink there is quite big, I'm gonna apply my pink, which is from the Ultimate Mixing Set, or half pans. No, this pink. I think I also loaded it here. I'll just use this one, this piece. So from here, wow, nobody's asking question, which is weird.
Ethel, the entire chat is just filled with accolades. Everyone is loving so much your soulful, your
Oh.
emotional connection.
I'm not, maybe I'm not used, thank you, Buffy. Maybe I'm not just used to it because when I'm behind the cam and Zoom, I know that there are questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all are following your process.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Rajat.
You're doing such a great job of explaining everything that people don't have to ask questions.
Oh, I'm not sure if that's good or, but it's okay. Let's just flow together.
We're captivated, Ethel.
Is that
We're
Ian?
busy taking notes, Ethel.
Thank you for that, Ian. Okay, so look at that. Do you see? I see it on the screen. Do you see
Beautiful.
the colors flow? That, if you ask me, Ethel, how do you start your journey? And that actually led me to this. The first time I saw water embracing color, I got smitten. I was like, it took me like almost 13 years to discover that that's actually how watercolor works. It has to dance with water. So in other words, for us watercolorists, you need to have water to enjoy watercolor. See, so I'm not gonna touch it for now because I see in the bouquet that there's a nice flow of pink there. And I'll just wait until it settles a bit. And then I can move on to the part that I want to emphasize, which is this part. And I learned again from husband. You know, there's a joke in Philippines that if you keep on mentioning the name of the person, and let's say the person is not in front of you, that person would bite his tongue. So how many times have I mentioned Dino's name? Yeah, that's a joke. So Dino, my husband said, okay, for your style, if you want to define this part, like the light part, that's lighter from the other colors. You need to do a negative painting. So that's what I'm gonna do now. But timing wise, if you define a part of your piece, you can't actually define it when it still is wet. Because to define is, the way I see it is, you start to apply your dark colors. But I'm gonna try. There's no right or wrong anyway, right? So if it messes up, it's okay. That may be an opportunity to do something else.
Ethel,
Yes, Ian?
if you were doing a time limited piece of artwork like you're doing now,
Mhm.
where you've only got a set amount of time, would you use a blow dryer or air dryer or whatever to speed the process up, or is it essential to let it naturally dry?
I think it depends on the size. I'm comfortable with this because I can start doing here. For my style, I don't like to use blower, but my husband does, because his experience, he knows how to control the distance and the heat, the distance. I'm afraid to use blower because I may end up spilling, like pushing
Spinning
things
around.
unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start defining. I also learned that your darks don't have to be black. You can work beautiful darks by combining your 3 colors. And I have here colors I also been touching, or you can use, I have another plate, by the way. At home, you will see me with different plates. Because sometimes, like when I'm up, and like early in the morning, and I just want to chill, I just get one of the plates. No, I'm conscious with time. I have another plate. And more plate. So the reason why I'm not washing them, and I think artists know why, is because I see beautiful darks just out of the mix. It's like, don't waste it. Clean it by using it. So that's what I'm gonna do.
You can hang it. You can hang it. It's beautiful.
Hang this like wall decor.
Yep.
I may.
You're so funny, Steph.
So I'm gonna use like, so I'll start cleaning. Some artists, excuse me if you guys, more experienced artists, find this like, oh, what are you doing, Miss Pajao? But that's, sorry, that's my style. I just like salvaging colors here, and then we start to apply. And then you see, this is how I do. I just put it there and then start defining by doing negative painting gently. This will not define yet because it's still soft. But I'm beginning to trace where the petals will rest. Now, if you look at this, my husband's word is, oh, that looks like alien. This color is alien here. This, why? Because I actually don't have this from my first set of colors that I mixed. And my process, I don't mind, because I can just put more darks using my green and my blue, or not blue, my pink. But the purpose of me doing it this way is because I want to define as early as now. It's more like, it's like lampposts for me. This will tell me that, Ethel, your petals will stop here. Okay. While they are all waiting to be like to settle, I then can start doing my leaves here, but telling myself not to overwhelm the rest, because the leaves are not the focus. The focus is actually this. So for my leaves, my favorite green will be the star, and that would be undersea green. I have here my my undersea green. And so I'm gonna mix here. Haven't really done much. Oh, see? Not clean. So don't rush. I'm not so used to the silence. My gosh. Okay.
We love watching you, darling. It's so playful and beautiful and so
It
soulful.
is. I love it. Wow.
Thank you. You know what I like about the brush, like how Alvaro designed his brush? For my case, and even Dino, I see him like we could paint with just the two brushes, almost like the map brush alone. So here we go. One leaf there. And then we start this one. Oh,
There's
yeah.
a comment in Zoom, Ethel, that said, Ethel's presentation reminds me of a poem sung by Rick Maston. Let it be a dance we do. Let us dance our whole life through. That's
Aw.
from Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Oh, sweet.
Okay. So Ian, you see there's a puddle here, but I'm gonna touch you, the pink, the last one. The green shade, yeah, it's actually under sea green. So now I'll come back here. And I'm gonna put a mix of my 3 and helping of a blue and then black. The black here. My blue would be
Ethel, I really love what you're doing. Do you always paint small or sometimes bigger?
I could paint bigger than this, like half sheet. But all my usual size, Sylvia, is A4. Is it 11, 9 by 12? Is that 9 by 12? I think 9 by 12.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, 9 by
Just on
12.
the subject of paper, is this your preferred type of paper?
I like rough and cold press.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
So I have a question. Good day. Do you work, Ethel, do you work like in a series? Will you have 2 or 3 or 4 paintings going at once so that they can dry and you can go back or work them simultaneously?
Yeah, I usually do that. Lisa, is it? Yeah, I love doing series. Like for this bouquet, I think I can do 3, but for the interest of time, for now, I could only do this big. Although at first I said I may do like smaller so that I could do 3, but just for illustration purposes, tonight we'll do 1, but I'll carry on. I'll do another 2 parts for that bouquet. Okay.
Because I just think looking at how you work that it's important to leave it alone.
Correct.
But you're in the flow. So while you're in the flow of painting, you just go to the next painting and keep that flow going. And then you have a whole series of paintings.
Because I said that this is the 3rd time that you really can't define the parts when it still is wet like this. So I will leave it like that. And then I can start doing the rest here. I'll go back to my and then blue.
Hi, Ethel.
Alison?
Hi. I was trying to get sound to work. I wanted to tell you that your first plate, the one that you're using for a palette, actually looks like a little bit of a floral arrangement on its own.
This one on the right?
You were showing us both the plates under the camera, no? It was looking like a nice little floral arrangement on its own.
Yeah, that's why. Perhaps that's the reason why Stella said you can hang it. Right, Stella is like an artwork.
Ethel, I have a question. And
Yes,
that is your painting. Hi, your paintings are so beautifully loose, and yet there's an idea behind them. It seems like you know exactly where you're going. So when you started, did you have an idea where the pinks would go and exactly where the leaves and the white flower would go?
Yes. That's why I said earlier that while, yeah, I don't have pencil works, but when it's more like, I think it's more like abstraction. So when I look at the bouquet, like my mom-in-law's bouquet, there's lots of parts that's good to highlight. But I already decided it's one of those near bottom part. So in my mind, I know like which part would flow this way, that way, and which part I need to do a negative painting. Because I do much of negative painting to emphasize that part that I want to highlight, or like the star of the piece, which will be this part.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Nothing much, in fact, on this piece yet. But I think artists know that when we do negative painting, it's when we start putting the darks that you start to see things appear. And I'm gonna be careful here. See, I can't even touch the pink. Okay, let it rest there. Go, just flow. And then I think this part here I can do back with my undersea.
Ethel,
Ian?
are you a person who likes to incorporate salt into the painting, or is it something you do or don't do?
I see a lot of artists do that, and in my mind says try it, but I haven't tried. I would consider.
It's definitely a technique you need to refine when you're doing it, but it can have some nice effects.
Yeah, I saw a lot of artists who are so good in, I think timing also matters, like when you put the salt. I haven't tried it ever. I'm gonna do my black. I need to have more black. I just leave it like that, and then start forming another leaf here. I have like 17 minutes to go.
So mentally, you know where you're going, but you don't draw ahead and plot out on the paper where,
No,
where
the
everything is.
focus, Chris, would be this side. So we are defining this, and more especially this. So this will be the last that I will touch. I'm just building up the other parts here. So for example, I want to have on the bouquet, there's one leaf here that has multiple parts. So I'm going to reduce my water now. Earlier, it's more like water loading. So I'm gonna do like one. Do you see that on my screen, it looks washed, but in here, it looks washed. That's okay. I missed this part. So. And then there's this brush that Neve created. You familiar with this brush? It's called needle point because of its shape. There's a point. The purpose, or a rigger, the purpose of this type of brush basically is the belly will hold enough water. So this is good for making lines, consistent lines. It would let you do consistent lines because of the belly. This is where the water stays. And so you can just go on uninterrupted, versus you do with a round, it won't be as consistent with this. So I use this in my dialect, we call it buntis or pregnant brush because of the way it looks. So here we could start doing the stalk by combining my favorite mix, by the way, for leaves that are the two colors, undersea green and quinacridone gold, and then another dark, which could be lamp black or any granulating dark. Does a dragon work like a, I didn't quite get it. I'll come back to that question. Okay, so here we go. Ah, okay.
Very nifty. I hadn't seen a brush like that before.
It,
do you know who
it's
makes
one
it?
of the riggers. It's too much water. Do you see it?
For all of you that are watching, Ethel also has a 36 dot box that you can get that come with these nice large dots of watercolor. This is a Daniel Smith. You can pick this up and she has these fun things on the back here that are these different types of mixes. So if you want to see some more granulation with all these wonderful colors, you should definitely pick this up. You can see why she also doesn't use salt, because of all these wonderful colors that mix together make wonderful granulation.
Thanks for that, Gabrielle. In my mind, I wanted to talk about this, but then my eyes keep on looking at the clock and I say, oh my gosh, I don't have much time. But okay, quickly, thank you for the introduction, Gabrielle. Daniel Smith has this watercolor confetti, and from the word confetti, it's inspired from beautiful, cheerful colors. So inside you have 36 dots that came in nine sheets. But the dots are a lot bigger than the dot cards in your 266 now and your 66 colors. And inside got thematic projects to do. Okay, you know what? In person, this part here is really beautiful. Maybe later I'll just up it a bit. And then I could start doing here again.
Ethel, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Caroline.
Is the brush you're using a neef?
Yeah.
NWF, yes.
All
I think
of these brushes.
Yes, I think you will find if you have a look at Alvaro Castanet's set that he was involved in the rigger with the belly.
Yeah.
And yes, so he introduces that when he offers his courses, and that's one of the brushes that he was involved in designing.
True, like what we like about this brush is it's mop, so it can hold a lot of water. You do your wash very well and smoothly, but it also has a very fine tip, so you can do fine lines.
Yeah, I was talking about the one with the belly, the pregnant one.
Ah, this one.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the function of the rigger. It can, for me, it allows me to work on a line, like consistent line, thickness and color.
Yes.
But you also use that brush on the side, which is beautiful when you create some of your flowers.
As leaves or a petal. Okay, let me come back here. You know, for background, I like the mix of cerulean blue or cerulean blue chromium, and then you add with a sodalite or a simple as black, like this mix. In real life, it looks a lot better. Okay, so it's beginning to dry up. I got start to see, define. Am I covering it? Yes, I do. And then switch to a smaller brush. And before this one here dries, you better follow it up with water. I think I have to move there so it doesn't.
I like how you paint all over the sheet, Ethel. You're not afraid because the painting will happen at the end and you paint all over the sheet. I love that.
Was that a question, Stella? Sorry.
No, it wasn't. No, it was admiration. That you're
Thank
very
you.
brave. And yes, and you're not afraid to do that.
That's what I like about watercolor. Like it allows you to relax because of water. It's true when it says just flow. Water is fluid, so that's the benefit, I guess, that you get when you do watercolor painting. Okay, and then we start to shape this part while the rest starts to dry. I think my light is too much.
Ethel,
Yes.
do you take any of your brushstroke influences and things like that from Sumi painting?
Ian, I got lost there. Do you
Sorry,
mind?
Sumi painting.
Sumi.
Sumi.
Zumi, yeah. The question is whether I use or my inspiration from Sumi ink.
Yeah, for the painting brushstroke styles.
Uh-huh.
The technique.
I'm not
take
even
any
from
that?
may sound very, very basic, but I'm not even familiar with Sumi artworks or the ink.
Yeah.
I haven't used it. This is how I got into the watercolor art. It's the transparency and the flow. And ever since I just follow the flow. So we're gonna do my reference.
Ethel, you do have a question on Facebook, and it
Mhm.
was, what did they asked if you were using cerulean and what black?
Oh, what black? It should be James Black. This is ultimate mixing set. So it's the James Gray, the first James Gray.
And they wanted to know which blue you were using.
This is cerulean blue chromium. But you can use, I'd say, cerulean blue chromium or cerulean blue or any of the blues, and then just add a black. That to me could make magic. Time check. I have 7 minutes. Okay.
I have another question on Facebook was, what brushes do you have that are real hair and which brushes are synthetic?
Oh, these are all real hair, by the way. This is a mix. The flat wash is mixed Teflon, but the rest are all real hair. Squirrel, and this one, a round brush, David Taylor's Kolinsky, also by Neve. I have one Skoda here for my round, the smaller. Yeah, I'll do something that would make it look complete within time. And then I'll just finish the rest of the, not really details, but decorated, minimal decoration over weekend. Let me bring it closer. Do you see that?
Ethel, thank you for sharing this. I know many students have such a problem with how to do backgrounds and how to complete their florals. They can do the actual flower, but how do they tie in the leaves, the stems, and tie it all together? So I just love this demo because you've really demonstrated how beautiful it is to start from your background to your foreground.
Thank you, Buffy. I think what's key about background, not sounding like the expert really, but I observed that, like for my husband, he actually used colors for background from his original, let's say 3 or 4. He does not introduce another color. And that's one of the beautiful discoveries I have for watercolor. Like your 4 colors can actually be your 5th color. And that color will make everything else, that will make your piece coherent, if you know what I mean.
Thank you.
That's very good advice, Ethel.
Caroline, coming from you. Those are not my, I observe, and that's how I learn. The only thing I guess that I learn, and in other words, did not follow my husband, is about the synthetic brush. The way I talk as if it's like a secret. But I think I have to do it. When you do a controlled application of water, you have to use a synthetic brush, not the real brush like this. Not the real brush, that's not a right word. Not a real hair round brush. A synthetic square brush. I don't have it here. Okay, so before we leave, I'm just going to define and then we'll do something here. And our stem. So the stem, I learned this from, I hope you won't get sick of me saying I learned it from my husband. I learned it from my husband because I do. Like 13 years of seeing him paint. It took me 13 years to pick up the brush and paint. But mind you, the artist who made me pick up the brush and do it like ABC, it's not actually my husband, but an artist doctor. So I was assisting her workshop and like standing and just observing. And then she just said, Miss E, they call me Miss E in Philippines, come and join. I said, no, I don't paint. No, just sit and I'll show you. And that was effective for me. It was really like ABC. She said, get a brush, dip your brush onto a glass of water, shape like diamond shape. We're gonna paint flowers, so put four petals. And then from there, you dip your brush, wet brush to color, and then you start like map, like as if you're mopping the paper. I will never, ever forget that experience. And since I'm on air, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Nanette. She's in the US now, and she continues to be an artist there. As Dr. Nanette helped me bridge or cross from being how do I describe it? She helped me cross to the experience of appreciating watercolor. See, I talk and then I forget. Now it's dirty. So I'm gonna do lifting. Master artists know this, lifting. I only have a minute. But it's okay, we're done. I have defined my flower here, right, John?
Yeah, it looks good.
I have defined my flower.
So Ethel,
Yeah.
key important question here.
I know.
How
question.
How is rooster?
Where's the rooster?
Yeah, I can't hear him. He's not in that pot, is he?
No, not here. And it's too early for the rooster to do its job. It's only 2:29.
It won't be getting up for a couple of hours yet then.
Yeah. Do you see that thing there? That's the part that I like about freeform and loose, this part. It just, like, my word for loose is like silver. And it's so relaxing to the eyes. It's not saying like I love my work, but yeah, I just love that effect. Thank you, Angela.
On a more serious note, Ethel,
Yeah.
on the subject of when you're getting close to finishing a particular painting,
Mhm.
can you overdo a particular piece doing this kind of technique? And when do you know when to stop?
Oh, yeah, you're always the one who asked that question.
Do you know why? Because it's probably your greatest weakness.
I was hoping someone else, but it's okay, Ian. So the question is, when do I know whether to stop or not? I'm quite happy because my goal, I hope you don't, it's okay. This is a big piece, and yet my focus is teeny weeny, just small, it's here. But that's actually what I want to do with my painting. Like everything else is just background. And it's back to that hashtag that I introduced to myself, which is to an audience of one. So it's starting to shape now, and then I'm going to do the rest here. John, if you could give me 2 minutes and then we're good. This one,
Yeah.
I can't do anything because I've underestimated. It's wet and there's a puddle, and that's okay. There's another day tomorrow. This is my today, my new day. Today is already Saturday for Philippines. So I'm gonna fix this part when there's enough daylight, and then I'll just start to finish the rest here because this part is dry.
Is
Jim?
it possible to see a little of the lifting, Ethel? You've completely got me intrigued there. Thanks. It's Jim here.
This part, Jim, okay, I can do an effect here. Like it's basically a straightforward tissue. I have 2 types of tissue, softer tissue and thicker tissue. Between the 2, I like the softer tissue. It works with water. So I learned this from husband. So Dino's tongue by now like swollen. I like Dino.
Where is Dino? Where is Dino?
Oh no. So
Ethel, I'm sure Dino learned something from you too, darling.
no, not sure.
Oh yes.
Yes,
He always
he
finds
probably
me
has.
like difficult to handle as a student, but I don't mind. It's my own thing. Right.
Well behaved and do not make history, sweetie.
Jim, this is for you. And I don't mind lifting because I could just fix it. Like, let's see. Let's say I have a stem crossing the, okay, I do lift. I think you can see from this side. So clean tissue, and then you just lift with the tissue. See that?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you, Ethel. Yes, I do the same, and sometimes I scrunch the paper with kitchen towel, and it gives a texture to the lifting. I didn't know the term. That was what? So thank you, Ethel.
Welcome. And then more darks here, and then I'm good. Oh, maybe somewhere here. And we're good.
Ethel, I just want to ask one more question.
Yeah.
When you've let all of that dry,
yeah,
do you ever re-wet it and revisit the painting with other elements?
It depends on how it would, look like tomorrow when there's natural daylight.
Mm-hmm.
I may not.
Yeah, thank you.
We so appreciate that doing it for us in the middle of the night, Ethel.
Yes.
It's a
Not
pleasure.
even in the middle of the night, but in the early morning.
Almost done, John. No, not almost done, but because it's still a lot of things, a lot of parts that's not defined, but I need time to do that. I don't want to rush it.
Ethel, do you ever use masking fluid?
No, I haven't practiced, but I'd like to, but not this, maybe not soon. because so far I'm enjoying this kind of like lifting. The other technique also is use this kind of, you know, brushes like this. Like, again, this is for illustration purposes. You gotta do like, oh, see, because it's dry, so this one does not work. Let's try here. It's almost dry, so cannot work. Okay, and then finale hair, John. Oh my, I'm over time, 5 minutes.
Well, that's because you're having a good time, and so are we.
Okay, I'll just put leaves and then put, and we're done for now. There's leaves here.
So Ian, I hope you have a good day tomorrow. I'm going to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning to see the parade and everything.
All right, yeah. They're going to make us swear allegiance to His Royal Highness. I don't think so.
It's strange.
Unfortunately, I'm from Republic of Barnsley, so we don't recognise him.
Oh.
What time it is compared to here.
Ethel, my daughter Lisa loves your work and she's been waiting to see you paint. She's enjoying your demonstration.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for being here. Okay.
Now, what is the name of the needlepoint brush with the pregnant brush?
The pregnant brush. I hope senior art won't mind me. Please don't call it pregnant brush. Look, it's not that. Just in Philippines, we call it pregnant brush. Needle.
It's a needle.
Yeah.
I want to congratulate you. I'm with a group in a restaurant, but we're following you, and
that's Angela's signal.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to seeing the final piece.
Yeah. Thank you, Angela.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
We love it.
Thank you.
I better stop here for now because
Bye-bye.
I need
It's
to ensure
beautiful.
that
Thank you,
our
Ethel.
control. I'm gonna
Thanks,
finish
Ethel.
this over weekend. I think it's good to have a project to do over weekend. Yeah. Do you see the
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful, Ethel. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ethel.
And let's
Thank
do a done
you.
review of everybody.
Fantastic live, Ethel. Thank you.
It's on its way.
There.
It's doing
Thank
well.
you, everyone. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.